Good morning, everyone. How is everyone? Let's see who is popping in. We'll take our time as we're getting ready this morning. I got notes, I got stuff because I got thoughts for practice this week. Good morning. So come on in. I don't know, sometimes I don't think that you guys can see Puma when she's on the black mat, but she was just on my book. So she's ready for practice. Good morning, everyone. I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga, and this is Home Yoga Practice Live, where I share tips and maybe some strategies and formatting for creating your own personal yoga practice. This was born of our pandemic, staying at home, of course, not being able to be in a studio environment, but it has really helped me challenge myself to sharing what I really feel is my practice and what I believe is how we can best use this practice for our modern day lives. Good morning, Kara. Or is it Kara? Let me know. So get situated. If you all are new to home yoga practice, Tuesdays are where I kind of set the theme and we talk about the philosophy of what is the theme for the week. So drum roll, brrr, boom. The theme for the week is Pratyahara. Ooh, what is Pratyahara? Realizing my screen was dark because I made it that way. Y'all see my hair is getting all fuzzy. Kara, got it. Thank you, Kara. I appreciate that. All right, so Pratyahara is sense withdrawal. If we back it up a little bit, remember that our yoga practice is a branch of 8 limbs. So there's 8 branches of yoga. It's not just what am I trying to say? It is not just yoga poses. It is 4 branches. I'm sorry, I was scanning because I thought I had it still up here. So one is yamas, then it's niyamas, and those have to do with our moral behavior, how we walk in the world, in our actions and our words. And then the rest are about the body before we get to the last 3. And that's asana, yoga poses, pranayama, our breath practices, pratyahara, which is where we are now, which is sense withdrawal. And then those last 3 are really more about our spirit connection, focus, meditation, and then ultimately this unification where we are one with spirit and body, all completely unified, but not wholly identifying just as body or as spirit. All right, so I'm going to set those last 3 aside for a moment and just stick with Pratyahara. Please keep, if you're popping in, please welcome and just say who you are and say good morning. If you're new to this practice, you might want to have a journal with you as we're going through maybe some of the lessons of this week. And you can pick and choose, like, okay, what do I want to focus on this week? Part of what I had set up in the really beginning of our home yoga practice is first determining what is it that I want to practice. And you could just pick one thing. It could be honesty and just say, okay, this whole week, everything that I do is going to be about honesty. Am I being honest in whether I've pushed myself too far? Am I being honest about my indulgence in my senses? I'm going to loop it back to the senses in a minute. You could choose your theme to be strength. And then you get to choose, like, okay, how deep do I want to get into? What is strength for the next 7 days of my life as far as my practice? Okay, and the other aspect of practice then is determining how much time do I have? How much will I commit? You choose that. It could be 10 minutes a day. It could be an hour a day, 2 hours a day. That's you. You get to be honest about how much time can you actually commit, but commit to it when you make that commitment. Then looking at the aspect of your practice plan, observing. That's why I said also get a journal, because study is a part of the niyamas, but that we're committed to studying ourselves and studying text, saying, I don't know it all, and I'm going to start to learn a little bit more about what is perception of my mind, perception in my body. So observing what's going on, reflecting, write down what you actually did, what went well, what got in the way, how much distraction you had. And then lastly, guidance. How will you be guided through whatever it is you chose that you want to be practicing this week? Is it a book? Is it a certain teacher? And how do you ping that back? Like, okay, hey, I'm trying to practice this. This is what I'm thinking, and get that feedback. Because once we start guiding ourselves, it's kind of like saying we're in charge. We can get lost in the forest, right? And you can be going down the wrong road. Like many of us, we're drivers, right? And maybe you're going on a trip and you're so sure you're going to take this road. This is where it's going. This is where it's going. And the ocean's over there and you're going down this way and you got to do the loop back. If you've got some guidance that you trust, that you respect, then hopefully we won't go too far down the wrong path. But at the same time, any part of this journey is useful. We learn as we go, and then we get to come back to some forgiveness and some kindness as we go. All right. So here's what I would like to do today. I would like to move a little bit and then come back to discussing a little bit more about Pratyahara. The way we've been doing our Tuesdays is we've been kind of really doing some deep philosophy, kind of write out on the whiteboard, and then a little bit of movement at the end and say, see ya, I'll check you out on Wednesday. I think that today I'd like to move a little bit, and then we'll come back to some study. If we have some time, maybe we'll actually step back into a little bit of movement. You don't have to decide what your practice plan is today yet. If you've been coming back, cool. Let's just get onto the mat, move a little bit of issues in our tissues, clear some of the cobwebs, and then we'll come back and start to talk a little bit more about Pratyahara, sense withdrawal. Okie dokie. So why don't we start in child's pose? We'll come to our hands and knees and sink back toward our heels for our resting space in that. If you have knee problems or your knees are sensitive, please feel free to put a blanket down or maybe double up your mat, triple up your mat for all I care. This is about you and you coming into a realization of what your body needs, your breath needs, and your mind needs. Don't say, oh, one day I won't need this blanket. This is what I need today. Deal with that today and bring loving kindness into that today. All right, so let's get to a little bit of movement before we get too deep into study. All righty, so I'm going to come to my hands and knees. I like to widen my knees out, sinking it back. Maybe your head is resting on a block or a stack of pillows. Invite presence, invite ease, sthira sukha, ease and steadiness. And if this pose isn't comfortable for you, you could remain sitting. You could lay down on your back. Whatever is a good space for you, to just start to allow your check-in, inviting yourselves to your mat, inviting yourselves to your practice. Practicing our practice, not perfecting. And what does that mean? Bring your awareness into the room. Bring your awareness into your body. Be a physical body being, a mammal. And then be a conscious being, breathing, aware of breath. In my spiritual practice of the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, my Lama would say this precious human existence, because as humans, we at least believe that we're the only ones that are sentient of our being. So then I am aware of my breath. I am aware of my control of my breath. So feel yourselves as a breathing being. And then feel yourself as a thinking being. Don't block it out. Just look at your mind. See the thinking that is going on. Feel the thinking that is going on. And meet your body where it is today. Meet your mind where it is today. Don't even want to turn it off. Let all those thoughts ping pong, ping around like they're in a pinball machine. Had a great image from someone the other day who said that they see their mind as like the lottery balls pinging all around, like in the Powerball basket, right? Woo! I was like, oh yeah, that's the mind. All right, let's breathe in and come forward to hands and knees. Breathe out and sink it back. Breathe in and flow it forward. Now just feel the mind and the body and the breath working together and breathe it back. Not trying to perfect it. It can be lopsided. It can be out of sync. Breathe in. Breathe out. Feel the elements of the earth, the air, gravity. Breathe in. Feel the temperature in the room. And breathe out. And let's breathe in. And tuck the toes, lift the butt, drop the head down, dog. Let your perspective change. Go ahead and open your eyes. See the world in this upside down, backwards kind of version. Feel your back and your neck, your arms and your legs. Tilt the tailbone up and down. Lightly bend the knees, walk your hands back to your feet. And then feel gravity's impact on the body a little bit more in that upper body. And let's walk our way back forward to down dog, feeling your arms become your new legs. We'll bring the left knee down. Feel your right leg lifting and stepping up to the top of the mat. Tuck the back toes, straighten the back leg. Let's feel length and space. Stride. We'll bring the left knee down, step the right leg back, stepping that left leg, feeling yourselves lifting it, stepping it up, placing it down. Feel your left foot touching the floor. We'll tuck the back toes, straighten the back leg. How do you know your leg is back there? How do you know your hips are talking to you? Feel yourselves even receiving these words. Feel your ears hearing. Feel your chest receiving breath. We'll bring the right knee down and step the left knee back. And let's walk the arms forward and just lay the belly down. Feel the belly touching the earth. Feel your belly receiving the earth. Let's breathe in. Lift the chest. Keep the hips down, cobra. Exhale, lower it down. How do you know that you're feeling what you're feeling? Scan the back of your body, from the back of your head, through your shoulders, through your hips, through your feet. What is registering? Good. Let's breathe in and lift. Are we only aware of the outside of our body? Are we aware of the inside of our bodies? And lower. Relax your neck, relax your head, pay attention, check in with your thoughts. We can start to really super duper identify with the body when we get all into this movement thing. What's your mind doing? It is doing a gazillion things at once. It's questioning, it's remembering, it's expecting and wishing. Let's breathe in and lift. Relax your tummy. Good. Let's take it back to child's pose. Feel your way of folding back into you. Maybe extend the arms out in front of you or back behind you. Feel what's going on. Let's come forward to hands and knees. Be aware of your palms now. How are they holding you? What sections of the fingers, of the wrists, of the palms? How much energy is pressing down or drawing up in your arms? Can you affect that? How does it feel? Where is your breath? We'll tuck the back toes and lift the hips up for downward facing dog. Change something about your legs. Learn something. Maybe walk the feet wider. Make some sound. Becoming aware of ourselves as beings that hear and beings that make sound. Breathe in. Exhale, we'll bring the left knee down. Let's step that right foot up, and then we'll step the left foot up and roll the spine up to standing. First time we're bringing this body, this bipedal body, coming upright, standing erect on these two legs. Roll the shoulders up and back and down. What are we aware of? What are we not aware of? Various small muscles and tendons. And at the same time, what can we feel that we're actually in control of? Different areas of the body, bigger swaths, smaller swaths. Are there sensations you can't even identify? I hope that answer is yes. And let's breathe in and reach the arms out in front of us. Exhale, lower it down, and then let's roll the spine back up. Take your time. Now let's sweep the arms out to the side. Feel that difference. Reaching up. Exhale, forward fold. Do we know those differences? Do we always do the same thing? Let's roll the spine back up. Change how you're rolling it. Maybe do the low back first. Maybe do the upper back first. Good. Let's reach the arms out in front. Good. Now turn the palms out. Lower the arms down. Reach back behind. Breathe in, open the collarbones, lift the chest, feel the front of the throat, back of the neck. Exhale, bring it forward. Maybe those knees are bent, maybe they're not. Bring intention, deliberate testing, deliberate inquiry. And then observe, don't judge. We're not here to give ourselves a grade. We just want to feel and wake things up and say hello. Test out the awareness system. Releasing the arms. We're going to curl the spine up one more time in a different way. Let's step the right leg back. Take your time. That back foot, aim the right toes to the front right corner of the mat. Bending your left knee over the left heel. Warrior one. Feel your hips. Say hello to the spinal column, the low back. Feel your organs. Feel your feet, ankles, heel, calves, shin. Muscles in your groin you can't even identify, but you feel them spatially. Lifting your chest. Let's step the right foot up and we'll change it out. Take your time or take one big step. How did you get there? Did you put intention into it and observe how you got there? That one was a little rushed and non-mindful on my part. Feeling out those hips. What's holding the chest up? What's making the chest grow taller? Are we aware? We can reach the arms out in front of us. And then grow tall. Where are we reaching the tall from? Are you in your back leg more than your front leg? How do you know? What senses, what areas of the body are telling you where pressure is coming from? How does your brain receive that information? How does your awareness receive what's coming from the brain? And let's bring the hands down. Let's step back to plank and let's feel, breathe. What sensations are changing? Are we feeling heat build? How do we know? Lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. What's changing here? What's lengthening? What sensations are intensifying? What sensations are starting to diminish? How do you know? Notice your thoughts. Try to invite more of a feeling, sensory awareness rather than a thinking. And then I'll ask, how do you know? Choose the legs that you're going to use first to step up to the top of the mat. Fold into yourself, whatever that means. How much effort are you using? How much freedom is in your base? Or are you clenching in your base? What does that mean for you? And let's slowly roll the spine up. And step the right foot back. We're going to widen it out. Turn that foot sideways so that that foot's at a 90-degree angle to the front leg. And we'll bend that left knee. Scoop the tailbone a little bit, just trying to intend the energy upward. Letting the structure of the thigh bones and the hips hold us. Roll the shoulders. We'll open the arms wide. Rotate. Rotate. What's waking up in a sensory way? Traveling up and down your arms. What are the legs telling us? What's growing more intense? And as we experience that intensity, does it transform to discomfort? And what's our relationship with comfort and discomfort? Let's bring the left arm under, right arm over. You could either do a bear hug. Always straighten that front leg when you need. And then interpret that, especially in line with what I just said about comfort and discomfort. Maybe lift those elbows. You could have your arms in eagle or just keep the wrap. What are we feeling? What do we just wake ourselves up to in terms of awareness in this precious human existence? And we'll release those arms. Let's straighten the front leg. How does that feel? And then let's work the hips. Oh, hello, hips. What sensations are there? What is it alleviating and what's intensifying? Now let's spin on the left and we'll spin on the right and bend. Feel the hips, feel this side, new information. Sensation is delivering information, but it also gives us that sense of indulgence or aversion. What's going on? Free your feet, notice your mind. How has the mind changed? What's going on in terms of indulgence and aversion in our mind, in our thoughts? Good, let's reach the arms. We're going to bring the right under left over this time. Maybe work your neck. How does that affect your balance? How are we perceiving the outside world with this physical body and the tools of the physical body? And then lift the elbows, breathe. Good. Feel your way. Maybe grip and ungrip in the hips and the thighs. What are we perceiving? What's intensifying? What's dissipating? How are we reacting to whatever's intensifying? How are we reacting to comfort, discomfort? And straighten. Work the hips. What's different on this side? What's familiar? What's unfamiliar? Awesome. We're going to spin on the right heel. I'm going to make my feet parallel so that the big toes are on the same line. My knees are slightly bent. You don't have to be super wide. Honor the frame. Accept this finite frame, okay? This is not an infinite frame. It's deteriorating even as we speak. So let's give it some respect. Let's keep the knees bent, and let's just tilt the tailbone back and forth. Pelvic tilts. What are we feeling? How are the legs supporting us? What do you feel in the sides of the legs, sides of the feet? Where are you standing in your feet? Where are you standing in your ankles? Are you in one leg more than another? Can we do hip circles? Change direction. Calm the center. Good. Let's reach the arms out. Breathe in. Pull the front of the chest up. Exhale. Let's come down to a nice flat back. What are the legs doing? What's the spine doing? What's the mind doing? What are we feeling? And bring ourselves back up. Inhale, reach. Exhale, arms out to the sides. Open the chest, pull the chest forward, and we'll let the upper body go. Check in with the knees and the backs of the legs. Your knees can be soft. Could you let your spine go more? Has your mind told you you already did it? And can you check in and find out if that's true? Let's bring the hands down. Come down to the knees. And then we'll bring the legs out in front of us. We'll wake up the legs. We'll do this vibration action. You can hold your elbows out like so if you like. Holding the torso accountable for lifting us up, shoulders down. What are we feeling? What's the range of sensation we're feeling? How much muscular energy do we need to use? Point and flex. Feel awaken. Do we know the limits? Do we not? What can these ankles do? What are they wanting to do right now? Let's breathe in and lift. And then let's twist. Breath in, grow tall through the back of the neck. Breath out, revolve. Loosen your organs. Breath in. Breath out. And we'll release, coming around to the other side, sitting up tall. Breath in. And twist, twist, twist. Breath in. And twist. Good. Let's come forward. Let's separate the feet a little. Not super wide, but not together. Pressing the backs of the legs down, flexing the toes. Keep the chest upright, as though a rope is pulling your chest up. And then stop when the body stops moving. How about that? Let's pull the chest forward, shoulders back. What are we feeling? Let your mind scan different areas of your body, even if it seems silly, like left butt cheek, what are you doing? Right arch of my foot, what are you doing? What are you telling me? What information are you sending me? How do I know that I'm receiving that information? And let's bring that chest up. We'll bring the bottoms of the feet together. Don't hike the heels up super duper. Again, respecting the body. Oh, that was a snap, huh? Bottoms of the feet together, inner thighs open, maybe holding your shins, maybe threading under the feet, whatever is accessible. Don't force the body. Let's breathe in and grow tall. Grow tall through the back of your neck. Scan the zone from your tailbone up to the top of your head and feel what is lifting. What areas of the body are lifting? How do you know? Could a different area lift you? Could you challenge it? Under the armpits, just above the nipples, could that lift your chest? Just at your hairline at the back of your head, could that lift? How do you know? Right ear, right shoulder. Now keep lifting up through the left side of the neck, but the left shoulder is rooting. Can you feel more lifting? Where's your breath? What are the sensations you're feeling, and what is delivering that information? Slowly lift the head up, and let's find the other side. Up and over. Left ear toward the left shoulder. Notice your mind. Is it judging something? Is it forcing something? Right shoulder down, right side of the neck up. Up and over. Make room for your breath. How do you know your breath is occupying different regions of your body? Neck rotations. Is the torso still aspiring upward? Is our attention divided? When we hyper-focus on one area of the body, are we unaware of the others? Are we aware but not distracted by them? Do we know the difference? Change direction. Good. Let's come to a center space. Breath in. Exhale. Pull the chin and chest forward. Stop when the body stops. Free and open. Not trapped and closed. And let's bring ourselves back up. All right, we're going to straighten the legs out and then take the right knee back behind us. Left leg is out to the side and just lean back. You don't have to lean back far. Maybe you want to come to your elbow. Maybe you want to come back, but feel out what's going on in that thigh. What's the information? Maybe the ankle is talking. Do you need to change it? Do you need to put some cushioning down under it? Do you need to come out altogether? What's comfort and discomfort? What's changing in how we interpret it? What's changing in the level of information that's being delivered? How do we identify with what's going on? Do we say, I am feeling pain? Or an area is delivering information of pain? Do we wholly identify with a stretch or a sensation? Or do we see it as something separate and apart from us? Does our entire identity come into this body or into that region? These are just questions. And we'll bring ourselves up. Ooh. Take your time. Notice how you move. Notice how sensations change as we get ready to find the other side. Hear your breath. Maybe remind yourself that you're practicing. You've come onto your mat. You've come into inviting yourself to being in your body, being in your breath, being in and with the mind, and observe, oh, coming back on this side. And so I'm going to greet what I'm feeling where I am with some non-harming and a whole ton of some respect. And then it changed. Breath, softness, presence. What are the ankles doing? What are the toes doing? What are the hands doing? What are the shoulders doing? Are we reacting? Are we being present? Are we imposing an expectation? Good, and we'll gently bring ourselves up. And let's free that leg. I'm going to extend this leg out. Find where it wants to go, respecting where it doesn't want to go, pointing and flexing, feeling the difference. We've been in a wide-legged space standing. We're in the same hips, same legs, different orientation of gravity. What's different? Tilt the tailbone back and under. Ooh, what's different in our relationship inside of this pelvic bowl from when we were in the warrior two, when we were in those standing poses? What's different? What's the information? How do we know that we're feeling what we're feeling? And then we'll pull the chest up and forward and then roll the spine up and back. And we've done this nice fluid reaching and rolling. What's different? What is the range of sensation, intensity, and our relationship to that information? What about our reliance upon that information? Our love of a certain amount of stimuli that we're getting from that information? Our memory with that information? Coming back up, gentle side bend. Feeling the side of the body. Breathe. What regions are talking? What's the texture of that information? Let's bring ourselves up and over. And bring ourselves up. All right, let's get something that's comfy and maybe get our journals out. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pratyahara. Don't be in a rush. I'm getting out my big fluffy circle. I love this thing. Oh, okay. Actually, I think I need to pull this a little bit closer. Good. I hope that I've left, I was looking at the time, I think that I've left a good amount of time maybe for us to do a bit of discussion and then maybe return for a little bit of, if not one posture, maybe two, kind of testing out some of the things that we're getting to talk about. So again, I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga, and this is our home yoga practice live. And today, or this week, we're talking about Pratyahara, sense withdrawal. And so already, like, what does that conjure for us? And please, we have the opportunity and the benefit of being able to interact with one another. So please, if I ask a question, don't see it as rhetorical. Chime in there. And if you have questions, put them out there. Otherwise, I'm trying to pretend like I'm not sitting in a room talking to myself when I'm sitting in a room talking to myself. And I'm cracking myself up. So y'all can, call any authorities that you need if you feel like, oh, Belinda's losing it. All right. So, yeah, what does sense withdrawal mean to us? Sometimes that can feel like a frightening proposition, or it can just feel like a foreign proposition. What do you mean withdraw from my senses? So I'll wait a moment in case there's any feedback or thoughts about that, because that's our base point from beginning to embark on this conversation, is kind of understanding where we all are with our understanding of that. What does sense withdrawal mean? Does it feel like a scary proposition? So, in our physical body, we've been given five senses as far as we can tell. And that's our hearing and our sight and our smell and our taste and touch, right? Touch is a really intricate sense because it delivers texture, temperature, pressure. It delivers a lot of information through the outside and the inside of us. All right, I'm still waiting to see if anybody has any thoughts. But so the outside senses deliver information from the outside world to us. So on a carnal basis, on a purely physical, bestial basis, right, our senses can help keep us alive because we can see stuff coming that we need to duck from, right? We can hear things that sound like a threat. We can hear things that sound delicious. We can see things that sound delicious, all toward our primal needs. Smell and taste can affirm for us things that smell good or maybe bad or dangerous, as well as taste, yummy, good for me, or bleh, dangerous, toxic. A starting response of that being scary, but also if you withdraw, what could you feel and focus on inside if you keep the outside quiet? Okay, thank you, Kara. I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate the admission of how frightening it can be because we rely on these senses to keep us safe. And that was part of what I was talking about there. It's primal. So we do need our senses on this physical, bestial level. Until we're not in this body, we need these senses to keep us safe. And kind of taking that safety away can be very, very frightening. Hi, Ash. Welcome. Welcome coming through our YouTube channel. Love it. It's hard for me to think of sense withdrawal because I live in a very busy delta of traffic near a church that rings bells hourly and construction happening right next to that. Wow. So yeah, that can be an assault on our sense of hearing. All right. Thank you so much for the share. And I do want to kind of preface that, hey, I'm an imperfect being. I want to share as much as I can today, but do know that this is the beginning of a journey. We will not be able to have an exhaustive conversation about Pratyahara today. Hopefully we'll trickle in some of the conversation the rest of the week. And hopefully before the week is out, I'll finish putting out a blog post, a little bit more deepening about this discussion about Pratyahara. But so we're going to just talk about a little bit of a breadth of discussion. Yes, Kara, it is very vulnerable, and I'm glad that we get to be able to talk about this. All right, so why is Pratyahara a part of the yoga branches? Okay, remember what I said. We've got the yamas, that's the do nots. Don't lie, don't be violent, don't steal, don't hoard, and we want to be celibate of things. So we have to withdraw from various activities so that we're not indulging, okay? And then there are the do's, the yamas and the niyamas. So we want to be pure and clean in body and in thought. So we want to do some purification practices. We want to have discipline. We want to find contentment, all right? And then svadhyaya, self-study, and then surrender to something greater than ourselves. Those are the first two branches of yoga, how we conduct ourselves in our actions and our behavior. And then the body, asana. Remember that ultimately the whole journey is to unify them all with our awareness of the truth of our sentience and our soul and our spirit, right? Because that's this fusion. We tend to live in the physical body and we think this is the end all be all. Right? When we say health, we think pulse, we think diet, we think all of that. We don't think about our mental health as well as our spiritual health and the care of our spirituality and our moral being. We don't think about that when we think health. We get down to the brass tacks, right? So when we come into pranayama is breath practices that helps us start to bring that equilibrium and balance of our awareness of who we are and the expansion of breath and using breath as a tool for our wholeness of spirit and mind and body. And then pratyahara gets us into that sense, and pratyahara has to do with awareness. Right? A lot more about that awareness of that higher being and this bestial being that says hot, bad, or good. That says flavor, bad, or good. That starts to say whether we can indulge or not, right? Our indulgence in our senses can be a good thing. Yep, it can be bare essentials. I eat, therefore I live. Or am I eating because I like it? Right? And so then we start to go into flavors and we get into certain spaces of sensory awareness that all we're doing is indulging for pleasure, or we're indulging to satisfy some desire as opposed to just the bare essentials. We also then avoid things according to various levels, true safety, or whether we're avoiding out of fear or we just don't want to because there's a discomfort level. So when we were doing that little bit of movement, I was wanting to bring us into a bit of that awareness of the spectrum of what's discomfort, what's not discomfort. Do we know the difference? What do we lean into? When we start to be able to bring our awareness into pratyahara, we can start to distinguish in our awareness, because a lot of times we're doing things on autopilot in our lives. All right, so I'm going to break down the word pratyahara. I'm not taking credit for this. Desikachar, DK Desikachar with Heart of Yoga. But he defines it as this. Ahara means nourishment, and pratya means withdraw. And so getting back to that baseline, right, Kara, of, okay, this is primal. And now you probably are saying, well, with that definition, why would I want to withdraw from what's nourishing? First of all, we don't want to actually withdraw from nourishing the body, but we do want to bring our awareness into knowing whether we're nourishing or whether we're feeding some of the non-healthy parts of us, okay? So think about it as nourishment, not just sense pleasure. All right, so what are some pratyahara kind of practices that we could just see on a base level? Silent retreats. Some of you may have heard of Vipassana, or in my lineage of Buddhism, we practice something called a Nunye, and those are silent retreats where you're going to spend a swath of time, whether it's a week, whether it's a month, of non-speaking, non-sound. It sounds like Ash could really use a little bit of some sound diet so that you're sound fasting, because it sounds like you're having an assault on these senses. The other thing is like a blindfolded asana practice, or maybe sometimes just walk through the bathroom. I do this occasionally when I'm about to take a shower, is I just close my eyes to what I'm doing and feel my way. And I notice how much more care I put into it. And I notice my awareness, my higher awareness wakes up, okay? Because I need to kind of know what I'm doing and where I'm going. Hey, Ansel, good to see you. I think there are some senses I withdraw from unconsciously, like ignoring smells without realizing it, even though they affect me. Some are harder to withdraw from, hearing, and some easier, sight. Exactly. Good stuff. Now, lastly, just for the taste, because you might be like, well, how can I withdraw from a sense of taste? Also, I draw from this from a white food fast in my lineage. And that would be like a period of time where all you're having is like rice that was cooked in water, not even a broth. You could have a thing that, a pure white bread that doesn't have any flavor, just water, cleansing the palate, so that there's no information coming through it other than just the nourishment. Float pods. You know what though, Kara? I have done that, and I really don't feel as though that's a sense withdrawal. It's a sense amplification. I've been in it. For me, every sound becomes amplified because it's kind of this echoey pod. All the water sloshing is a lot. The senses in the body, in the water, is just hyper awakened. Every crevice of my body, and I really mean that, every fold is being washed over. The eyesight, they have all of these color lights that are going in and out. That one you could close your eyes. So that one would be a little bit amplified. The smell is really amplified. So taste is probably kind of null and void in that one. So for me, I saw the flow pods as sense amplification. Okay, I want to address something that Ansel brought up and a little bit of Kara before we proceed any further. Please do not partake in any sort of sensory practices that feel unsafe. Okay, because once we start to get into a lot of these senses, they can be very triggering, especially if we have any trauma background. I don't do sense work when I am working purely in a trauma-informed practice with a student, unless that is something that we've really clearly talked about and start to feel out those boundaries. Because if things happened in our lives and we really need to be able to see, to trust things, because if we close our eyes or feel trapped or unable to see what's coming, that starts to be triggering. You don't want to do that unless you've already done a lot of good practices to recognize those boundaries. The same with if you have olfactory triggers, if you have smells that can trigger a memory and create a heightened response. Let's not go into that. So I'm coming into this from a baseline of not assuming that we have any triggers with any certain sounds or whatnot, but I'm asking you all to please just step away from a practice that looks like, ooh, that might be spooky, okay? And just know that that's not ready for you right now. That's okay. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about our senses and our cravings, okay? So it's easy with taste and smell for us to understand cravings. I gave into a craving today. I wanted bacon. I didn't need bacon. Right? I don't need bacon to live. And that's okay. If anybody wants to criticize me for being an animal eater, I am an animal eater. I at times am not an animal eater. I do know the source of where my animals came from, but at the same time, yes, I am an animal eater. Now, did I need bacon? No, I had a craving for bacon and I gave into that craving. And I knew that, and I was quite aware of it. And I said, well, I'm forgiving myself because I'm human and I give in to my cravings. But being aware at that moment in time in my practice was letting me know, I know that I'm not nourishing my body just to nourish it. I'm giving in to a craving. And that then is saying that I, at that level of my practice of yoga at that moment, I wasn't being a wholly unified being. Okay, I'm good with that. If you can only practice with sage burning or lavender or whatever, and you associate all of those things as being a part of your practice as must-haves, got to start to learn how to cut them out and look at what you're feeling when they are devoid. Okay, we've associated a lot of various things, whether it's trinkets and crystals and incense burning, or even our own specific mat, or even after a while, the clothing that you wear. If you start to get attached to that sense of touch, that sense of smell, objects and trinkets that you need to see as things that are assigned as identifying as your practice, as opposed to being in the practice itself, right? We're then attaching to that sensory stimuli instead of letting go of it. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that we don't get to just turn stuff off, right? If we could do it, we all would have instantly been great meditators, great focusers. We'd already be enlightened, because if we could all just say, oh, I'll just stop doing that, then that would be easy, but it isn't. And so we can't just kind of just say, okay, I'm just going to stop doing that. I'm going to instantly be in an all silent environment all day long. That will drive us crazy. If anything, you'll start to notice exactly how reliant you are to certain patterns and certain stimuli. Stimuli is all coming through all of our senses. I'll bet you we all have a pattern when we wake up in the day, and we have certain things that we always do at the same time, a certain thing that we eat, a certain way that we shower, a certain whatever. And any disruption of that makes us feel a little off kilter. Well, we've designed a way in which our senses have just kind of said, this is how it is, and I'm craving this thing. And if I don't get the thing that I want, I interpret that as suffering. So I truly believe, rather than trying to jump straight into taking things out, that we probably need to learn how to intensify it and learn how to be aware of it and then peel it back. Okay, so learning about my intensity of awareness of my eyesight, fix my eyesight on something and have it really stay there for a while. What's pleasing about it, what's not pleasing about it, and then change it, right? Change the way I get to look at things. Change, do I always look at my screen in a certain way? Do I change the lighting of that screen? Ooh, and then notice what's different. Do I walk around all day with all the lights on in the house? Then start to dim them down and change it. Intensify something first before we peel it back. Live with, if you're not used to, wake up your senses of your olfactory. If there's something that you're not aware of in your olfactory. I think that Ansel was saying something about realizing, ignoring a smell without realizing it, although even though they affect you, right? But if we can build more awareness, spend some time with different aromas, and then take them away and start to, again, journal, observe, how did that make me feel? What is it about lavender? What is it about vanilla? I hate the smell of vanilla. I can't take it. I can't take the flavor of it or whatever, but occasionally I'll use it. You know what helps me? It helps me refresh my senses of smell from something else. So I'm talking about intensifying things before we let them go. Whether it's sound, intensify it and then let it go. Now, Ash, you don't need to intensify a sense of sound. You might need to find ways in which you can insert a little bit more silence into your life. I feel ya. I've been around construction that I couldn't get away from in my home environment, and it just drove me nuts. But it truly made me appreciate it when the construction was gone. I live primarily in my home environment and a lot more silence. I don't really have things playing all the time because I feel like through the rest of my day, there's an assault on my senses. So for me to have that balance brings a little bit more quietude, also heightens my awareness of when this sense is being triggered a lot. Okay, now, let me see what I have. I keep talking about awareness. There is a term called the purusha in yoga. And that's it's almost like the act of witnessing, but it isn't the witness. The Atman is the witness, is the actual self that is witnessing. But the act of witnessing, of observing from the inside out, my reaction to a sensation. Now, not the being that is observing it, but just the act of witnessing. We're developing that awareness muscle, that witnessing ability, building that awareness, and our senses help us be able to recognize, oh, am I here? Am I not? Bring your attention into them. Okay. Kaivalya is a state of freedom. Hang on. So I talked about intensifying. Then we get to deny ourselves of a certain sense, but we can't deny it before we fully kind of learn what it is. When I explore flavor, I explore all around the back of the tongue, under the tongue, the roof of the mouth. Where am I developing this sense? Where is it coming from? What is it feeding in me? What's pleasure principle is it feeding in me? And what does it feel like then to start to deny it? Okay, I'm not a sugar fan, like sugar fanatic. I am a saltaholic, and I can tell different ranges of salt. And I know when I want more salt. Like this meal just doesn't feel right without this certain degree of salt. And then I know I've got to peel it back, and I observe the level of suffering that I feel as though I am that's being imposed upon me from that denying. All right, I'm going to pause for a moment and let that come in, just seep in a little bit. We intensify our awareness of a certain sense before we can let it go. We have to build an awareness of our connection to that sense. And that's healthy. A lot of us are walking around not aware of our sense of touch. I awaken my whole body and know exactly how this bra strap is pulling on a certain area of my body, and I feel it change. I am heightened in my awareness of being in my physical body because of my connection to my senses. Then I can start to play with, ooh, what does it feel like to deny that? What does it feel like to take away a sense of touch? Have a neutral temperature or a heightened temperature, taking away my desire for neutral temperature, taking away my desire for a warmer temperature. Can I endure more cold and be less reactive? Because after a while, our perception is starting to say that we are either suffering or we're not suffering. We're suffering or in extreme pleasure, and we're trying to find that balance, that sattva. We talked about balance before. What is perceived as suffering in either of them? Dukkha. Okay. So I want to pause for a moment, and we'll get a little bit of an opportunity to start to do a little bit of a practice. We're going to do 2 postures, maybe a posture and a breath practice, and be able to talk about our senses. Okay. But I'm going to pause for a moment and see if there's any questions or any thoughts about this range that I have shared with us. About Pratyahara, about our senses, and about its role in our practice of yoga. And maybe I haven't done a great job with the role part. And as I said, this is a lot for me to try to be like tossing in here on a Tuesday. And I might stick around for an extra 10 minutes or so. So if anyone wants to stick around and continue to probe this, feel free. But I'm going to open this up for a moment and see. I don't know if Ash, if Kara, Ansel, Joanna, you still with me? How have you been in your senses with all those push-ups? She's doing this push-up challenge. It's great. Claudia, any thoughts or any questions about senses and the relationship that we have with our senses in terms of our yoga? Is it too much for us to embrace? Like what? Well, I don't understand. So I'm going to pause, take some sound out. And even as I wait to see if there's any comments, let's absorb this silence. Notice the other sounds that you can become aware of in the silence. What does it help you become aware of in your mind in the silence? Is there an impatience? I'm feeling a desire and an impatience floating around inside of me. Okay. Well, I will leave this here. We have 5 physical senses. Maybe reflect. Oh, here's Claudia. You gave me a lot to think about. I need to recognize other senses other than feeling and seeing. So sense of touch, I guess you mean as far as feeling. And that one, like I said, is a huge nuance, right? Because we get texture and there's gradation of texture in terms of pressure, in terms of lightness, tickly. There's probably sensation in our sense of touch that we can't even describe. Temperature, pressure, location, right? Touch even gives us a sense of location, proprioception, and sight. Yeah, sound has nuance. The farthest distance of sound, levels of volume, proximity. The idea of intensifying then taking away to feel its absence as a good thing is very foreign, but I'm excited to feel that fully and press into it. Lots to consider. Okay. Yes, it is. And please, let's all take baby steps. Okay. And then notice if you have a penchant for extreme, like if you're like, you know what, today I'm just going to taste sour things. Oh, That would be an intensity. Or, notice if you have a tendency to always like jump into like an intense diet or an intense fast. Or do you just never want to try it at all? And that's where the journaling and the observation of that's me in my reaction to either a dependence or an aversion to desire, and what we perceive as suffering, dukkha, or pleasure, sukha. And that's where we live as a base being, but we're saying, hey, wait a minute, I have this observer that goes, hey, I do a thing. Why do I do that thing? And is that balanced? That's all. Is that balanced? Ultimately, we start to peel apart what is true and not true. Because in levels of intensity that start to tell us that it's suffering, we start to peel that away and say, oh, that's not suffering, it's just intense. And I am not what I am sensing. Ultimately, we say that I am not that pain. I am not that smell. I am not that taste. I am just the witness observing those scenarios and those sensations, and I'm coexisting with them. I'm not ignoring them, nor am I reacting to them. I'm finding that balance. I am at one with them. I am not what it is. I am at one with it. Now, we can be in it in some of the space that Ansel was saying, not recognizing like, oh, I didn't even notice was there, right? So I can just do sun salutation after sun salutation after sun salutation and get into this space where I'm in this mental unification with spirit, and I am not reacting to whatever's going on in my back. And some would say, oh, hey, wow, she really surpassed what was going on with the back. No, I think I became at one with it. I wasn't harming it, nor was I identifying with it to say, oh, poor baby, I need to stop. Okay, I found a balance with it. It takes practice. We might actually do more harm to our back, right? I found that balance of where I'm not overdoing and I'm not underdoing, but I'm still able to be in that practice. That's a great way to come into that pratyahara. We can't always start there. Okay, so let's do one posture, and then I'm going to do a pratyahara practice. If you have to leave, I understand, and you can hit the rest on replay later. So, I'm sorry if I'm taking some liberties with time, but, hey, I'm not on a time limit on this live streamy world. I can kind of do what I want, and so I'm just going to hang out. And if you have some time to be able to hang out, let's hang out. All right, I'm going to move my pillow out of the way. Feel free if you've got any other questions or inquiries and you want to plug them in there, even if you've got to go, know that I will respond to them. I won't just leave them hanging there, and you can always catch up to that later. Thank you all so much for being here and interacting so much today. It really adds to this experience of us being able to interact with one another. Otherwise, we could all just be looking at a dry video where you don't get to talk to anybody and you're just kind of guessing your way through it. And I'm nobody's authority. I'm just a person who is practicing their practice. Now you might be like, hey, wait a minute. So you don't know what the hell you're doing? I've been practicing for a while. Some might say that I'm certified by other human beings who say, oh, she's certified. But, in the end of the day, I hope to be able to keep people safe. I'm sharing the extent of my practice and experience. Hope that you find others who are also giving you some good and wise information, but that ultimately you're practicing it yourself and feeling out what feels true and right within you, in your purusa, your witness. Okay, so because we did a lot of movement earlier, let's come on down onto our back and just keep this really simple. And we're going to lengthen. I've got my left leg bent in like a bridge posture, and I'm lifting my right leg up. And I'm going to bring my hands behind my right hamstring. That's going to be my start point. Now I'm going to flex this toe and press the heel up. Now we all are probably feeling some range of sensation around the back of that calf. Just let your witness identify locations and the breadth and width of that location. So I can feel a wide swath in the upper part of my calf, and it stays that wide and narrows toward the Achilles tendon. And I feel a little bit of stress along the right side of my calf. I'm not going to name different muscles because you know what? It's irrelevant to you. And it doesn't really matter, right? Even if you are like the greatest anatomician, anatomical person, just feel this is a part of you and you're feeling swaths of intensity. Press the right heel even more. Drive it up. What are we feeling? For me, it's starting to radiate a little bit more. I'm not going to speak much more about the range of sensations I feel because I don't want to feed into what you're feeling. What are the senses? What are you feeling in each toe, in between the toes, in terms of sense of touch, texture, temperature? Now, use the hands to start to pull that straight leg closer to you. Ooh, now what changed? Now, I will say that my range of sensation actually gained what I interpret as volume. Like if I could play it as a note, it has gone up an octave. I would say that something is starting to transform into discomfort. More in my lower leg than in my thigh, in the back of the hamstring. But it is also getting intense toward my hip. What are you feeling? Do you need to change something? Is whatever discomfort that you're feeling getting dangerous? Like the primal being inside of you is starting to talk. And then ask yourself, is it true? If you're feeling like circulation is cutting off, is that true? Is the leg just going to sleep? Breathe. Now, I know Claudia has done this with me before. We're going to turn the upper thigh bone like you're rocking a key in a lock. So twist your upper thigh bone while keeping that leg straight. And as you twist, what changes in your sensation? And then twist other direction. Changes. Breathe. Maybe pull the leg a little closer. I'm going to walk my hands up that leg. Now, some of you may have needed to stop already. Do you know if you need to stop? Can you give yourself permission to stop? Think about this. Are you going to be able to walk on this leg later? I hope that you will. Balance in all things. Now, can you see this sensation as something separate than yourself? Or is it that you're feeling, I am feeling this sensation? I am this intensity, or there is an intensity in XYZ location of my physical body. And this is how my mind and my spirit are interpreting it. I'm going to gently release. Feel the sensations changing as you slowly release. Feel the sensations change as you bring that foot down. Maybe stretch that leg out. Feel that difference. Shake it out. Feel what's changing, what's transforming. Feel the transitory nature of senses. So then, was it ever true? Or was it just impermanent? Now we'll do the other side for balance. Just extend. Feel the extension through the heel. Are we assigning pleasure or displeasure or neutral right now? Somewhere in between? Are we in a hurry to get to something? Are we already avoiding and feeling aversion? Because sensations greatly tied to our emotion feeds into our patterns, our samsara, our cycles. And this yogic journey helps us break these cycles. Okay, I'm going to find my clasp behind the hamstring. Now really drive that heel up. Already things are intensifying. And already my mind left the mat and went to the run that I took this morning. Because the analytical part of me says, oh, this is because of this, right? Instead of just accepting this moment for what it is. So I've reeled it back and said, that's nice, analytical mind, you're cute. Can we just be here and be the witness? And the witness isn't the analytical part. The witness isn't our intellect. The witness is just the witness. Call it pure spirit, call it whatever. It's just your consciousness. Not infatuated or enamored with our intellect. Not infatuated or enamored with our physical body. It's just the witness. Observe the range and textures of sensation. Good. Now we'll start to maybe pull that leg a little closer. For me, I'm going to travel the hands up the back of that leg. I don't have to, but now I'm going to change that pattern because I realize it's a pattern. Because I get a little greedy. I was going for a memory instead of right here. Ooh, and you know what? By slowing that down, there's a subtlety that's really intense right now. And I was willing to skip over that. I'm just going to breathe and accept it, not lean into more intensity. I definitely am one of those people who will turn the gas on rather than slow down. So I have to slow down. I have to notice these patterns inside of me. Now I'm going to walk it up a little bit, keep flexing through the heel. And I'm actually not going to pull as much as the other side. Now, if you'd like, let's do that rotation of the upper leg bone. Maybe do some mapping, regional mapping. This is your body. You don't have to assign an anatomical term, but you can be like, 3 inches up and to the right, up my back. Don't know what that is, but it has a tone. It has a note. It has a feeling. Have I ever felt it before? What's my reaction to the new? Do I just fear it because it's unfamiliar and uncomfortable? Or am I willing to back up a little bit and go, what is it? What is it? Inquire. Say hello. Hi. I am the witness. Who are you? Good. And now, slowly, release. But feel that transition. Feel that transition. And let's just hold here. Maybe shake that out. Actually, I'm going to shake that out a little. And then just feel. And one could say that this is nothing, but is it nothing? Your legs could be straight out in front of you in a shavasana lying down. Or I'm just going to hold this space with my feet down. Shavasana is the ultimate in our asana, our yoga poses, of interacting with our interpretation and our witnessing of our senses. Do you always close your eyes? Why? Would you be distracted by visual stimuli? Visual stimuli is hard to ignore or not go down the rabbit hole. When we go down the rabbit hole, and then we're not present anymore. Try it out. Have your eyes open right here. And I'm seeing my ceiling. And just for a flash, my mind went to a little crimple in some of the wallpaper. And my mind went straight to a memory of a crimple when I was a kid. And it's like, oh, shoot, I'm not here. And it only takes a millisecond. And I'm going to roll over and bring myself up. As I'm rolling over, I am feeling temperature on different areas of skin, pressure in my arms, my feet, my hands, feeling it shift just then as I rolled into this hip. And now I've gotten to come back here. Okay. It's a lot. So this week, as we do power tomorrow, I'll probably guide us through some deliberate paying attention to sensory stimuli. I would like to say that if you're doing it on your own, choose one in an asana. Say, okay, this cycle through of these poses, I'm just going to try to be as aware as I can of a sense of touch. It's a lot. Then you could say, okay, I'm going to be aware of my eyesight. What do I avert my vision from? Where does my vision go? How often do I close my eyes? Can I do my whole practice with my eyes closed? And observe, write down. What did you confront emotionally? What did you confront desire-wise? Sometimes after I've gone through a few cycles with my eyes closed, I'm like, I need to open my eyes and I have to stop myself. I'll go into child's pose still with the eyes closed and go, what is it that you think you need to see? What is it that you're afraid of that has changed in the amount of time where your eyes have been closed? And is that true? Feel it around. Can I find an inner peace and inner freedom that isn't reliant upon my senses for me to identify that I know something for sure because I see it? Or even if I see it, I don't have to be that enamored with it or identify myself with it. Same with sense of smell. What all can I smell? All right. Now, for some actual deliberate sensory perception and awareness, we just did like a long, intense hold. That can be a great way. You can do it in different areas of the body for you to start to be aware of sensation, the sense of touch and feel, and the gradations of sensation and as they change, and how enamored we are with it. Do we feel as though a practice isn't valid if we didn't feel something intensely, that deep stretch? Notice if your mind instantly went, shouldn't I? And you said, well, where's the should? Remember, we're just being present and aware and accepting of truth, and learning what is true, what is safe, what is free, what is with ease. Okay, now sense of taste. Now remember, we have saucha practices. And so with the saucha practices, and those are purity, I think that was like week 3 when we were first starting to establish different plans. So if you want to look back at that week, we talked about different ways in which we can bring cleansing into the body. And when you cleanse the palate and you cleanse your digestive system, you can have a more pure and awakened experience in our taste. But you can just start to withdraw and say, okay, I'm not going to do a caffeine, or I'm not going to eat a certain thing for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. It could be, and it doesn't have to be about a health thing. It could just be like, okay, so I'm not a chocolate fan, but I love fruity flavored things. And I could say, no, the surest way to make me pout is if I couldn't have fruit. Like even the thought of it, especially in summer with melons and berries and whatnot, I'm just like, oh, but I know that I can live without it. I like it. And then I get to be confronting desire and how my senses are affecting my desire. And as you continue to go into your asana while you're doing those other things, what awakens about your witness, your purusha. And then we're stepping into that deeper awareness and learning, how do I respond in the world? Am I all reaction, or am I present and accepting? Last little bit. The practice of the asana is to help us build a healthiness in our internal and external body. Take that in, our internal and external body. Now, we can be anatomical, but it's also about our mental, our organs, our mental, our spiritual. So the pure balanced healthiness of our internal and external body. Sound, you can do practice absolutely quiet. Maybe put something in if you want to put a plug into your ears. You can also bring chanting into your practice so that then you're just hearing the same mantra. You could just do ohms with every exhale and just start to notice what stimulates in you. What does it help you not be reliant upon in the rest of your practice? What do you end up not overindulging in when you just get to be into the mantra? Okay, it has truly been my honor to share with you all. I didn't expect to go this far. Why don't we om to formally end practice? And I'll linger a little bit in case anybody has any questions or anything that you want to share. Okay, so the om, wide open throat, relaxing diaphragm, experiencing source of vibration, or just source coming out as vibration. Deep inhale. Namaste. Om is a beautiful way to interact with our sound space for no other purpose other than sound. Oftentimes, we are only making emanations out of this face hole with deliberate intent, right? To communicate, aka manipulate, because all communication is manipulation. And we're not here to sing. We're not here to speak. We're just here to letting the sound of source emanate from us. And how comfortable can we get with that and know the texture and the sound of source within us? It's always my deep honor to be able to share my practice of yoga with you, and you sharing your practice with me. Because every time you share, every time you have a question or share whatever's going on, that's adding to this pool, this community that's trying to walk on this path and figure it all out. All right. Have a wonderful day, you all. And as I said, I'll hang out for a little moment in case any of you are still here and have any questions. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for showing up, Claudia, Joanna, Ansel, Kara, Ash. I'm really glad to meet you and hope that you get to come on back. Wednesday is a power practice, so that means we're going to generate a little bit of heat, all within the context of Pratyahara for the rest of this week. Thursday is going to be, how do we encounter and engage in new aspects in our practice, either new levels of different poses or learning new poses. How do we one-up things and how do we encounter them and engage in them, or do we like to just stay back into the comfy stuff that we already know? And then Friday is the fundamentals and getting into basics. Alrighty, so I am hanging out for a little bit. Kara, thank you so much. I am really blessed to be able to spend time with you. We'll be posting up a deeper written blog about Pratyahara. If any of you are interested, you know I'm always going to be promoting The Heart of Yoga by TKV Desikachar. Desikachar, The Heart of Yoga. He is the son of Krishnamacharya, who is seen as the grandfather of modern day yoga because he taught all of the greats of our modern day. He taught BKS Iyengar. He taught Patabi Joyce. He taught his son Desikachar and Indu Devi. Those are the four main biggies that he taught, who then ended up like really ushering in the 20th century yoga that we know. But also, if you're interested, this is a really nice smaller, right? It's like, ooh, that's easier to digest. Small books, yay. I love small books. But the thing about small books written by Gurujis is that they condense a lot into really small areas, and so you really got to chew, right? It's like having steel oats versus quick oats. So this is a steel oat chew, but it has great asanas in here. This is just called Yoga, Yogasana and Pranayama for Health by Dr. P.D. Sharma. So I'll put that into the blog as well, both of them. But yeah, he talks about pranayama, all of the limbs, as well as his approach to the asanas are always keeping in mind our connection to spirit as well as our connection to our physicality. And I don't think I brought it in here, but you all know that I love Indu Aurora. She is a wonderful Guruji, and I love to give shouts to the female Gurujis who are out there, who has, I think it's called the Sadhana Institute in Chicago. Oh, great. Yes, Heart of Yoga, Kara. And I'll include it into the blog. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Continue your practice and share your practice out in your actions and your words. Namaste.